Good evening and welcome to the 9th meeting of the 145th Council of the Corporation of City of St. Thomas, April 7th meeting. The first order of business is the appointment of the presiding officer. I would like a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Baldwin-Sands, seconded by Councillor Taylor. That Council appoint Councillor Kohler as presiding officer for this meeting of Council. All those in favor? Carried. Your Worship.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Welcome everybody and to the viewers at home. Any disclosure of interest from the members? I want to recognize that Councillor Herbert is joining online. He's away on vacation right now, but thank you for joining. And Mayor Peters and Mayor Preston and Councillor Peters are away on business. And unfortunately, Councillor Wilkie sent his regrets. He is at a funeral tonight. So once again, welcome everybody, and seeing that there's no disclosures of interest, minutes, please.
I have a motion that the minutes of the meeting held on March 17th, 2025 be confirmed. Moved by Councillor Herbert, second by Councillor Clark.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? That's carried. Next item, please.
Council will now resolve itself into committee of the whole to deal with the following business. First committee this evening is strategic direction and development. First item relates to the keeping of backyard hens, and this is a follow-up report. I have a motion that report PD 1325 relating to the keeping of backyard hens be received for information and further. And then the motion is in the positive, as all of Council's resolutions are, that Council permit the keeping of backyard hens. Just need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Clark, seconded by Councillor Gibson. And then just for the members' clarification, if Council does not wish to allow the keeping of backyard hens, then Council would simply not vote in favor of this motion.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Any questions or comments on the report? Thank you for the report, Jim. Councillor Baldwin-Sands.
Thank you. If this report is turned down tonight, when is the next opportunity we would be able to have to bring it forward again?
If the city manager wants to, but if it was turned down, it would take a waiving of the procedural bylaw to do that. So, but I don't know if the city manager wants to add to that.
I'm sorry, if I understand Councillor Baldwin said, sorry, I was writing at the same time. If Council does not wish to allow the keeping of backyard hens and then wishes to revisit, then Council would need to pass a motion to reconsider the matter.
Councillor Herbert.
Thank you. Okay, through the chair. When I read the report, to me it contradicted itself, and it said on the conclusion that we would not support this. Am I reading it wrong? At the end of the report that I read, initially it said we would, but when I read the report that we would not support it and would not support it. Am I wrong?
No, that's it. You're correct, Councillor Herbert, but our motions have to be in the positive. So that's why it is that. So if you don't support this, then you definitely want to vote against the recommendation, because the report does state that they shouldn't be allowed, but because of the way so it's just written in the positive. Councillor Baldwin-Sands.
Thank you. For the public that may be watching this issue at home, I was hoping that Jim could come forward and discuss the rationale for staff to not support this at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to Councillor Baldwin-Sands. The principal reason behind staff's recommendation is the ongoing issue with respect to avian flu. Numbers that we're getting from the federal government indicate it's getting worse. The wild bird populations are the primary source right now. However, there are cases that have been found in local farms, including in the local area in Middlesex County. And so because that is growing, we just feel that staff could not support a positive recommendation on going forward with this at this time.
Thanks, Jim. Any further questions or any questions for Jim while he's up? I think an example of that is what's happening in the United States with the price of eggs because of the avian flu too. So Any further questions from members of council? Seeing none. Councillor Gibson?
Yeah, I just want to just say that in the beginning, I was very well in welcoming of having chickens in the backyard because I was really looking at doing it myself. But in regards to the information that Mr. Coombs has put out and what's in our information with the federal government, this time I will not be in favor. Thank you.
Thank you. And noting that on the vote, we want to make sure that if you're voting against, you're not going to vote in favor of this. So all in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Next item, please.
Thank you. Noting that the motion was lost, we'll now move into the next item, which is proposed official plan and zoning bylaw amendments for Silver Street. I have a motion that report PD 12-25 relating to the proposed official plan and zoning bylaw amendments be received for information, and further, the council authorize staff to prepare site-specific draft amendments to the St. Thomas official plan and zoning bylaw 50-88 to permit business employment uses on lands described as Range 1 SCR Part Lot 2 in the city of St. Thomas, and further that a public meeting be scheduled for May the 12th, 2025, in accordance with Ontario Regulations 543 and 545/06 as amended. Moved by Councillor Taylor, seconded by Councillor Gibson.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? That is carried. Next item, please.
Next item relates to an application for a draft plan of subdivision approval for the Millers Pond Phase 6. I have a motion that report PD 1525 relating to draft plan of subdivision approval for Millers Pond Phase 6 be received for information, and further that the application by Doug Terry Limited for approval of a proposed draft plan of subdivision file 34T 25501 be received. Moved by Councillor Herbert, seconded by Councillor Gibson.
Questions or comments on the report? Councillor Clark?
Thanks. I was just wondering if staff could remind the viewers that the influence of the new provincial planning procedures and how it affects council's ability to weigh in on some of these subdivision plans. I would reference Shaw Valley and the estate at the Barrie Estate, and then South Edgeware, where we didn't feel that those infills were in keeping with the neighborhood, and we didn't approve them, and it costs the city a lot of money. And so I don't know how this one will go, but I'd just like people to know what the changes were and why local councils are not opposing some of these changes.
I know Jim's the author of the report, but Lou, do you want to tackle that one, or you?
Through your worship, I'll do my best to answer it. If I understand, I just want to make sure I understood correctly the question. What we have here is a request for a plan of subdivision in what was a former block in a plan of subdivision that was set aside for a school block. So that block had been available to, I believe, both boards, and they made the decision that it was not suitable for their needs. I guess just a new format of how schools are developing, more of a campus style development. They needed more land. The developer had held it aside, but now that the schools have expressed that there's no interest in it, they're coming back in to subdivide those that block. The zoning is in place to allow for that. So this application before council that's been submitted is to subdivide the land, create a new plan of subdivision on that block in the form of singles and towns and semis. It was the subject of a minor variance application that the decision is on the agenda as well this evening. So I think that's the nature of the application before you.
I guess I was just talking in general terms when people buy homes and their thought was when they bought the home there was going to be a school there. In you could walk through each of the different scenarios where this one is in conjunction with a minor variance. So it's tying all those things together where the local municipality doesn't have the same voice that it used to have in a number of these matters. I just wanted you to reiterate some of that in general. Maybe it doesn't apply directly to this one, but I think the feeling of people in the neighborhood is that council's not doing enough. The original plan was it's supposed to be a school. Now we're getting semi-detached, similar to some of the things that we're hearing on those other sites.
No, through your worship, no, the councilors, what the feelings that you're relaying in terms of how some of the residents feel, that's normal, and that's acceptable. Obviously, when people moved into this subdivision, I'm sure there was advertising that there was a school block in this subdivision, and it was set aside. But there's only so much that the developer and the municipality can do. The most that we can do is set those lands aside and make them available for the school board. We did all that. Council approved the plan of subdivision, approval authority of plan of subdivision many years ago with a school block in it. But the school board, just with the funding and the new arrangements for planning for school sites, deemed that site was just not of sufficient size. And that was for all available to all boards.
Thanks for the explanation, Luke. Councillor Taylor?
Thank you, Your Worship. As you can understand, I was made aware of a bit of a, what's it called? People were upset, so they signed a petition. And I attended the Committee of Adjustment meeting, and there was some concerns there as well from people not understanding that what Councillor Clark is mentioning, moved into a neighborhood, and to find out that the amount of traffic, the number of homes that were going to go in was above and beyond what they had expected. So all I can say is that, yes, I understand where our hands are sort of tied, what has been explained, but whether there could have been a different way of communicating that to the folks that lived in the area, I don't know. When there was confusion about the meter setback and the width of the lots and what this really meant. But their concerns, of course, is the amount of congestion that that's going to have. So on one side, I agree with them, but I can see where we as a council and the province of Ontario has made the changes. So we're sort of stuck between a rock and a hard place here. St. Thomas needs housing, but it's not exactly what the folks in the neighborhood were looking for. So yes, it's just my concerns, my understanding to the folks that are living in that neighborhood of what's happening. So I feel for you, but we're sort of stuck, right?
Thanks, Councillor Taylor. And hopefully through the public meetings, we'll be able to get some comments and maybe jointly with the developer fix some of their concerns, or at least help some of the concerns that they have. Any further questions or comments on the report? Seeing none, all those in favor? That's carried. Next item, please.
Next item is notice of a decision regarding this plan of subdivision, relating to this plan of subdivision from the Committee of Adjustment, and it's to make some changes. First, to permit lot frontage of 9 meters, whereas the minimum semi-detached lot frontage is 10 meters, 6 townhouse units per lot, whereas the maximum is 4 units per lot, and a townhouse dwelling residential driveway covering 51% of the front yard, whereas the maximum is 50% of the front yard. And finally, that townhouse dwelling residential driveway with a maximum length of 51% of the front lot line, whereas the maximum is 50% of the length of the front lot line. And that's relating to development of one single detached dwelling, 20 semi-detached dwellings, and 26 townhouse dwellings in this phase. So that's for the members' information.
Councillor, we'll hear from Jim first and then Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just wanted to clarify, there will not be a public meeting for the draft plan of subdivision. It's no longer required under the Planning Act. So that's one of a number of changes that the province has made to the Planning Act, that there's no longer a requirement to have a public meeting. However, having said that, for the public who are listening tonight, You can still send whatever comments you have through to the approval authority, which in this case is the Director of Planning and Building Services. So if you have any comments on the subdivision, please send them in either directly to the director, or they can be sent through customer service and make sure they get through to the department. And we certainly welcome those comments.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Clark.
Thank you. Maybe this is where my comments would have been more appropriate. It's the changes, these kind of changes that make our voice less heard. So even though we know we need infill and we want that, these minor variances aren't in keeping with what we have established as our rules. And so that's where people get upset.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Next, unless there are any further items from the members for this committee, we'll now move into community engagement and services. First item relates to the downtown Oktoberfest request for road closures. I have a motion that report ES 1125 relating to the downtown Oktoberfest 2025 request for road closures be received for information. And further, the council approved the temporary closure of Moore Street from Talbot Street to Center Street and Talbot Street from the east side of St. Catherine Street to Ross Street from 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. on Saturday, September the 20th, 2025, to allow for the downtown Oktoberfest. Moved by Councillor Clark, seconded by Councillor Baldwin Sands.
Any questions or comments on the report? Councillor Baldwin Sands.
I just would like to add that this was a major event in our downtown, and the number of people that came to the downtown to be part of this Oktoberfest event, I thought it was a great night. It was a great time had by all, and I'm glad to see it come back to the downtown.
Thank you very much. Totally agree. I think if we have some nice weather, we might be surprised with the size of the crowd this year. Any further questions or comments on the report? Seeing none, all those in favor? That's carried. Next item, please.
Next item relates to the Railway City Road Race 2025, also road closure request. I have motion that report ES 1225 relating to the Railway City Road Race 2025 road closure request be received for information. And further, the council authorized the road closures as outlined in report ES 1225. And further, that the Railway City Road Race event organizers coordinate the safe operation of the traffic control points as recommended in report ES 1225. Moved by Councillor Herbert, seconded by Councillor Gibson.
Questions or comments on the report? Seeing none, all those in favor? That's carried. Next item, please.
Next item relates to Indigenous First Nations Gathering Place. I have a motion that reports CMO 0225 relating to Indigenous First Nations Gathering Place be received for information. And further, the staff be directed to consult with local First Nations and Indigenous representatives to explore collaborating on an Indigenous First Nations Gathering Place within the city of St. Thomas. Moved by Councillor Baldwin Sands, second by Councillor Gibson.
Questions or comments? Councillor Baldwin Sands.
Thank you. I was very grateful to see this report, and I was wondering if the city manager would like to provide any comment whatsoever.
City manager.
Thank you, Councillor Baldwin Sands. Through you, Worship Kohler, to Baldwin Sands. Thank you so much. It was an excellent report to investigate. Early research has already kind of started as to who that group of personnel will be, who we contact. I've been speaking with our strategic initiatives manager because she is involved in planning a September 30th event, and also been coordinating with the County of Elgin's Director of Culture and Community Services on their key contacts for this sort of initiative.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments on the report? Seeing none, all those in favor? That's carried. Next item, please.
Well, that concludes the items, unless there are any further items from the members for this committee. We'll now move into infrastructure and civic operations. First item relates to naturalized parkland. At this time, we do have Jake Lozon, Public Land Manager from Ontario Nativescape, to make a PowerPoint presentation. Mr. Lozon, if you can reveal yourself and the presentation.
Hello. Can you see me at all? No, wait 1 second, sorry. There we go.
Yes, thank you. We can see you. If you can share your screen.
Yep. So I'm sorry about that. I thought I was under the understanding I sent that to the council to have up, but I'll find it in the email.
Mr. Lozon, if you don't need to refer to it on a screen-by-screen basis, council does have a copy. It just won't be presented to the public.
Oh, I see. Okay. That might, yeah, that's fine. Basically, I have 10 minutes. I'd just like to start by thanking the members of council and your worship for letting me speak today about naturalization. So, and I honestly love the city of St. Thomas. We go there and play baseball all the time. I'm from Port Lambton, and we play hockey there, and it's a great city. And we've been working with the city of St. Thomas and Kettle Creek for about 12 years, naturalizing a lot of the areas. So my company started in 1994. We were part of the Ministry of Natural Resources, and that folded in 2013, and we became a not-for-profit called Ontario Nativescape, and we are one of the largest tallgrass prairie programs in the province. We started tallgrass prairie because bobwhite quail. So bobwhite quail were quite predominant in the province in the 70s and 80s. And they need native prairie cover. But the problem was that over 100,000 hectares of native prairie at one time existed in southern Ontario, and 1% remain. So a lot of the habitat was destroyed. So we started collecting from prairie remnants throughout provincial parks, locally, like Rondo and the Pinery and Ojibwe. And we took that seed and we propagated it into native plugs grown in local greenhouses. And we have 110 acres of seed production. So we grew all those plugs in a seed production. So currently we have 50 native flowers and 5 native grasses. And we can harvest that seed, those species, whenever they need to be harvested in the fall. We take it back to our warehouse in Wallaceburg. We have specialized seed cleaning equipment to to debeard the grasses, and we have crippins and we have gravity tables, so that way when we provide seed to our customers throughout the province, they get the cleanest, purest seed available, and it's not full of chaff or inert matter. We have specialized seed cleaning equipment that we use in St. Thomas and other projects throughout the province, like Truex drills. They're specialized seed drills. I think there's about 6 in the province, and we own 4 of them. Yeah, so getting back to, I just want to talk briefly about that, just because native seed is extremely important. It doesn't come from other provinces. It doesn't come from other countries. And the reason why I think I was asked to come on here was maybe because there was some complaints on native prairie when it's the first and second years of native prairie. And when I give presentations, and I have for 25 years, I always say it's very ugly the first year. There's no doubt. Native prairie flowers and grasses are developing roots first. So you need that in order to sustain a perennial for many years to come. Once it's established, it'll outlive you and I. Native prairie flowers and grasses are extremely important on the landscape. Obviously, we all know about our pollinator species and butterflies. They need common milkweed. And the deep roots of the grasses are essential for soil erosion, soil stability, and grassland birds are on a massive decline. So grassland birds rely on native prairie grass as well. The city of St. Thomas has done an excellent job over the last dozen years with site preparation. When we first started, it was a little learning curve on what exactly site preparation is needed when we plant native flowers, because some of the excuse me, some of the seed is as small as pepper. So they've done an excellent job at site prepping, and site prepping can be usually it is ripping the ground a little bit with a disc and using glyphosate, so Roundup, the first year to kill any existing species because you don't want any competition. And yeah, and then that year or the following spring, we go in and plant it. So what you usually expect in the following spring is a tremendous amount of noxious weeds. And that's just life. That's what the job of a noxious weed is to do. It's to grow above ground instantly and be a pain. So once the native prairie is established and the roots are deep and healthy and aggressive, they will outchoke noxious weeds. If you're in our area down here, the Highway 40 Prairie Passage is 170 acres of native prairie. We planted in 2002 in partnership with MTO. And when you drive along Highway 40 on the west side of Highway 40, you rarely see any weeds. It's dominant flowers in the spring and summer, and it's dominant grasses in the fall. Yeah, I wish I could show you some of the slides of the previous. I just don't know how to mirror my PowerPoint. My apologies for that. But I have a lot of pre and during and post photos of projects that we've done. We've completed, well, I don't know, close to 5,000 acres since 1994. So if there's any way that the council are able to see those before photos, that'd be excellent. And the after photos. The key to my message today is, and to the city and to the council, is patience. My job is to go to farmers and say, you know what, this is really great for buffers, riparian areas, and I mean, I grew up on a farm as well, so I get it. You know, like you don't see anything grow right away, and that's what we're expected, but it always grows. You just need patience, and patience typically is 2 to 3 years. It needs to be mowed a couple times a year. And yeah, that's basically what you get. And after 3 years, it's fully established. And if there's a few sections missing here and there, we simply overseed it or you plug plant it, a couple plugs, and away you go. But native prairie grass is a naturalized area, and it's not a manicured lawn like a golf course. It's some people call it a weedy mess, and we seem not to say that, you know. I'm sure butterflies and pollinators disagree. Well, hopefully that was a good enough presentation for you.
Thanks, Mr. Lozon. Any questions or comments for Mr. Lozon and his report? Councillor Taylor?
Do we have some of these sites in St. Thomas now? And if so, maybe identify where they are, just for not only my knowledge, but public knowledge?
Adrian?
You want me to answer that?
I think we have Adrian coming to the
Oh,
podium.
great.
Thank
Okay,
you.
super. Thanks.
There we go. Through you, Chair, to Councillor Taylor. We do have 12 acres in the city that we've done already. So some of those areas include along the LNPS Trail. And then this year, we're working on a larger section in Waterworks Park. So some of the areas that we've done in the past are we are refurbishing originally naturalized areas that weren't done quite right. Such as at the corner of Sauve and Bill Martin Parkway. We've reseeded that with some of Jake's seeds, and across the way as well from that area is a section behind the Bill Martin Parkway parking lot that we've done. So those are some good examples. We are working towards seeding 2.5 acres this fall at Waterworks Park in the back end of the park. Where we connect to the woodlot, and we're going to work on seeding again that area at Sauve Ave. There'll be about 0.9 acres reseeded, and then as well along 63 Elm, we're going to do some plug planting just to beef up those areas.
Thanks, Adrian. Any other questions or comments for Adrian? Councillor Baldwin-Sands?
Thank you. My question is, you pretty much answered all of my questions in regards to where those open spaces are and about the timeline. How are we going to educate the public? Is there any possibility? And then I have another question. We have the opportunity to use our social media posts in order to educate the public on this matter? And what is the plan and the rollout to do that communication plan?
Through you, Chair, to Councillor Baldwin Sands, we certainly can use the website and our social media. We work quite closely with communications to get those messages out. As well, we are still planning our Wild Wisdom series throughout the year, and we could look at some of these plantings for one of those activities as well.
Thank you. If I may, is there any possibility of going on Mayor's Update as another example? And that way some of the slides that weren't able to be seen by the public tonight can be used at a future date?
Definitely. I think that's a great idea. Yes.
And I do have one other comment. If you can, I think last year, if I remember the timeline correctly, there were a group of people that came around and saw some of these sites and how it was an inspiration for their communities in order to do that. Would you like to share that with my fellow councillors?
Sure. Through you, Chair, to Councillor Baldwin Sands. We had an initiative through OPA where they came through from other municipalities and were able to see this. This year, OPA is not doing their forum in St. Thomas. They're doing it in the Niagara Falls area. But we can certainly reach out. Maybe next year we can look at gathering a bunch of communities together and having them come out and seeing some of our newer spaces grown, for sure.
Thanks, Councilor Baldwin Sands. Councilor Clark?
Thank you. My understanding is that under our bylaws, that someone could take their front lawn and have a natural garden as we're describing here. Is that correct?
Yeah, through you, Chair, to Councillor Clark, the new, and maybe Kevin could speak to this a little bit more, but the new bylaw for lot maintenance does include naturalized gardens in the sense that they're planned and they're not just left to go to weed, but they're planned and manicured around the edges to ensure that, you know, you're still keeping your natural plants on your space, but it is allowing for more of an informal look.
Right. My confusion, or other neighbors' confusion sometimes, is that in our requirements it says shall not be left in an unmaintained state. But if it's your lot and this is what we're talking about, is a naturalized area, that was the confusion where maybe bylaw was being called, or I'm wondering if we can clarify what unmaintained state means when it's a natural garden.
Through the chair to Councillor Clark, that's a really good question. What's the difference between a work in progress to be a naturalized area, which would need to be unmaintained from that perspective, versus a lawn and just letting it overgrow? That would be unmaintained, letting a lawn overgrow. But if you can clearly see that there's been deliberate plantings or perennials or grasses there kept to create a naturalized landscape, then that would not necessarily be defined as unmaintained. It's in pursuit of a naturalized landscape. So that would be kind of the key distinction.
That's great. And I think that's what people wanted to hear, because it's not just an excuse for people not to cut their grass for 4 weeks. I mean, we're trying to look for a totally different vibe here, where a natural garden is actually helping the environment, not just letting, say, lazy neighbors off the hook. Thanks.
No, I appreciate that question, because that's exactly what I had. And I know when we first brought this in, I expressed some concern at the time myself, and did receive a lot of calls. I do want to congratulate the city, because the area that we are taking care of are now looking much better than when we first started off. But I too, like Councillor Clark, have some issues with some of the private people that are now following suit, and they're certainly not doing it the way we are doing it. So I'm pretty sure that you're probably already involved with some of these people and showing them what needs to be done on some of their larger areas, because you can already tell that it's not at the starting state that ours was. So it's going to end up, like Councillor Clark said, where it's just on left. But it's good to know that we have a mechanism to go and make sure that they do follow suit the way it's done and should be done right. But thank you very much for that. Any further questions or comments on the report? Mr. Lozon, thank you very much for your presentation and call the question. All in favor? That's carried. Next item, please.
Sorry, I just need a mover and a seconder for that motion to receive.
Oh, sorry about that.
Moved by Councillor Clark, seconded by Councillor Taylor.
All in favor? That's carried. Thanks. Sorry, Madam Clerk.
That's okay. I probably could have read that first as well, just to. Next item relates to the Yarmouth Yard Earthworks and Servicing Phase 3 Tender Award. I have a motion that report ID 0725 relating to Yarmouth Yards Earthworks and Servicing Phase 3 Tender Award be received for information, and further, the council award the Yarmouth Yards Earthworks and Servicing Phase 3 to JR Civil Infrastructures Limited in the amount of $24,612,957.71, excluding HST. I'm moved by Councillor Gibson, seconded by Councillor Herbert.
Questions or comments on the report? Seeing none, all those in favor? That's carried. Next item, please.
Next item relates to the MTO Highway 3 project update. I have a motion that report ES 1325 relating to the MTO Highway 3 project update be received for information. Moved by Councillor Gibson, seconded by Councillor Taylor.
Questions or comments on the report? It's Councillor Clark.
Just wondering if staff could comment on how this ties in with all the work that we're doing and whether or not, I mean, it seems that to me, it seems like we're working at a faster pace than the MTO. And I'm just wondering where our project will be in terms of their project and whether or not we'll be running a number of trucks up and down or up and down 2 lanes when construction's still going on.
Through the chair to Councillor Clark. I guess that is a bit of a difference between the MTO and the city. We have been able to execute some of our projects a little bit quicker. One of the ones that ties into this particular project is the roundabout at Centennial and Highway 3 that the city completed on the MTO's behalf. So the Highway 3 twinning work will tie into that piece. In terms of access, I think you were referring to the industrial park. You may have noticed there's several gates around the entire site, off of Ron McNeil, off of Highbury, off of Yarmouth Center Road, to access the site for all the construction activity there. So those access gates will remain. The 2 lanes of traffic that currently exist through St. Thomas in the Highway 3 bypass will remain during the entire construction process that the MTO is undertaking, so that when we might flip between the new and the old as construction unfolds, but those 2 lanes are intended to stay open. There could be some night closures. The detailed design we're still working with the MTO on. You'll see in the schedule it's a little bit later in the multi-year project that the MTO is undertaking in this area to do the twinning work. But a large amount of the fill that's needed for the Talbotville bypass work will be coming from the area between Centennial Ave in the Burwell area. So I want to make sure that people are aware that you're going to start to see some activity in the Highway 3 area, and that's part of this multi-year project.
Thanks, Kevin. Kevin, just before you go, because I know it's not on the total project, but the first half interchange that we're talking about, and I think the top of the bridge is the responsibility of the MTO. When they do that area, will they resurface the first half bridge as well? Because that's in pretty bad shape. And while we got them in town, maybe we can get them to fix their bridge.
Through the chair to members of council, yes, Burwell and First Ave, like any of the structures, are MTO structures. They're not city-owned structures. And so you may recall back in September of 2023, we asked that they consider the renewal of those surfaces as part of this project. We understand that that'll take place at the same time.
Thank you. Councillor Clark?
Is there any opportunity for discussion about Burwell Road on and off ramps? Any more access at those sites? With us moving our animal shelter and owning that land that runs along there, whether there's opportunity there or on the north side. I understand, you know, the limits where Prestran is, but is there any opportunity for any exchanges at that site?
Through the chair to Councillor Clark, that was one of the comments the city made to the MTO when they were doing the EA process, was to look at options to put an interchange at Burwell Road. Eventually, those ended up getting screened out due to the proximity of the First Ave interchange. There wasn't enough space for on and exiting between those two, between First and Burwell, so it ended up getting screened out as an option.
Councillor Taylor?
Thank you, Your Worship. I appreciate that. Interesting two presentations here tonight. One about the naturalized areas and one about the highway construction. Usually when a new highway is built, the grassed areas on either side just become scrub brush and I don't want to say weeds, but I don't think it's planned, right? Is there any way that the city of St. Thomas within our boundaries could ensure that those areas on either side of the highway are naturalized landscaped areas that grow flowers? And is this an opportunity that is open to us?
Through the chair to Councillor Taylor, that makes a lot of sense. And I can take that back to our next MTO meeting. I know that there's restoration plans, but one of that might be maybe we can work in partnership with a more naturalized look.
Great, thank you very much. Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? That's carried. Next item, please.
Was there any further items from the members for this committee? We'll now move into corporate governance and administration. First item relates to the 2025 Municipal Accessibility Plan. I have a motion that report CC 0725 relating to the 2025 Municipal Accessibility Plan be received for information, and further the council receive and approve the 2025 Accessibility Plan as attached to report CC 0725. Moved by Councillor Gibson. Second by Councillor Taylor.
Questions or comments on the report? Councillor Clark?
Thanks. One of the recommendations for 2025 action items talks about the planning of accessibility improvement considerations around Lake Margaret and the kayak launch area. And I had a couple calls of people also wanting to plant the seed for that area. We have a large green space in front of, we call it, right now it's Jim Waite Park. And they were looking and thinking about in the future, if we're looking for more accessibility, whether or not part of that area could be turned into parking, not parallel, but the angle parking, so that right now it just seems to be a home for geese and what geese produce. And it would be an opportunity to get people closer to the lake, especially if they were going to do some accessibility improvements at the wharf and the dock there. And it would get people closer and be able to drop them off and enjoy that area. So just asking that we keep that in mind when we're doing future budget planning, that we might look at a small parking lot there as well.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. I see the director writing, so I'm sure that he has that down. Any further questions or comments on the report? Seeing none, all those in favor? That's carried. Next item, please.
Next item relates to court security and prisoner transport program funding. I have a motion that report TR 0925 relating to the 2025 court security and prisoner transport program funding be received for information, and further the council direct that a bylaw be prepared to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute an agreement with the Ministry of the Solicitor General for funding from the court security and prisoner transport program. Moved by Counselor Clark, second by Counselor Taylor.
Questions or comments on the report? Councillor Clark?
Well, we thank the province for their money, but it just seems to be the gap gets bigger every year. Like now we're up to 530,000 shortfall on those costs. And I don't know, I'm just wondering if we could ask for a report at some point in terms of how other municipalities are dealing with the ongoing costs, increasing costs of this item, and whether or not there's any ways for our police budget to look at savings in this area.
Councillor Baldwin-Sands?
Thank you very much. I also agree with things that Councillor Clark has brought to the attention of the circle. I would also highly recommend that we do a delegation at AMO with, and put that on our request list to have that opportunity to discuss the gap and the continuing widening of that gap.
Noted. Any further questions or comments?
Question?
Councillor Herbert?
Yep, thank you. Just to refresh my memory, when that money is allotted to us by the ministry, if we don't use it all, and probably we're going to, is the money have to be refunded back and then budgeted in for next year? I'm just not sure. I don't know if the chief is on the call or not, but I'm not sure how that works. If we don't use it all, do we have to give it back? The assumption is we're going to. But, and I noticed in the report that it could cost $55,000 extra for the police budget, but only if we went over it, if we didn't use it all. So anyway, I see Dan's popped up to the podium, so it's just my question.
Thank you, through you to council. We always spend that amount plus a lot more. I assume somewhere down the road, if we got a lot more funding, yeah, we probably would have to return it, but I don't see that happening in the near future.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Treasurer. Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? That's carried. Next item, please.
Thank you. Having noted the request for a report on how other municipalities are dealing with the shortfall and how the police budget is going to be impacted, if there's no further items under this committee, council will now reconvene into regular session. I have a motion that the recommendations, directions, and actions of council and committee of the whole, as recorded in the minutes of this date, be confirmed, ratified, and adopted. Moved by Councillor Baldwin-Sands, seconded by Councillor Gibson.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? That's carried. Next item, please.
No reports of committees. We now move into petitions and communications. First item is a request from the Ontario Disability Employment Network for jumbo lighting request. I have a motion that the jumbo monument be lit in purple and blue for the day for October the 16th, 2025, for Lighted Up for National Disability Employment Awareness. Moved by Councillor Clark, second by Councillor Gibson.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? That's carried. Next item, please.
Next item is a request for a proclamation and jumbo lighting request from Ink Stained Wretches. I have a motion that Council of the City of St. Thomas proclaim May 3rd, 2025 as United Nations World Press Freedom Day in the City of St. Thomas, and further that the jumbo monument be lit in blue on May 3rd, 2025 for United Nations World Press Freedom Day. Moved by Councillor Gibson, seconded by Councillor Herbert.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? That's carried. Next item, please.
Next item is a request to declare municipally significant event. This is coming from Economic Development relating to the car show. I have a motion that Council of the City of St. Thomas declare the Nostalgia Nights car show event proposed for July the 12th, 2025 on Talbot Street as a municipally significant event. Moved by Councillor Taylor, second by Councillor Clark.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. Next item, please.
Next item, a letter has been received from the Downtown Development Board requesting the potential review and redesign of the City of St. Thomas flag. If the members wish, I have a motion that the letter received from the Downtown Development Board regarding the review and redesign of the City of St. Thomas flag be forwarded to administration for a report. A move by Councillor Gibson, second by Councillor Baldwin Sands.
Questions or comments?
Question,
Councillor Herbert?
through the chair. Could I ask the reason why they want to change it? That's my question.
I don't know if Councillor Taylor wants to speak to that or not, but we can maybe ask that to be answered in the report when it comes back.
Thank you.
Seeing no further questions or comments, all in favor? That's carried. Next item, please.
Last item under petitions is notice received from the Thames Valley District School Board that the board's 2024-25 accommodation plan is now on the school board's website. Your worship, unless there are any further items of petition from the members, we'll now move into unfinished business of council.
Councillor Baldwin Sands.
Thank you very much. I was hoping I would be able to get comments from Mr. Bray in regards to the Parks and Rec Master Plan refresh update, talking about what the consultant is doing, the public consultation, how it went, and the feedback, and what the response rate was, and to let everyone know that we do have a follow-up meeting scheduled for this Thursday on all of the above. Please go ahead, Mr. Bray.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, we had, as I believe I've mentioned, over 2,700 submissions, 2,740, I believe. The consultant has consolidated all the results. We will be going over them on Thursday. As you've noted, we have a committee meeting, and we will follow up with a meeting to council later this month or the first meeting in May.
Thank you, Mr. Bray. Any further questions or comments? Any other further unfinished business? Seeing none, next item.
Next item is new business. If there are any items from the members.
Councillor Baldwin Sands.
Thank you. I've had a little packed agenda lately. This morning at our Health Recruitment Partnership meeting, we had a very full agenda. We were able to get through that full agenda, and we're looking for reports coming to council next week, and look forward to providing some comments on those reports, including the final report from the January symposium, the update to our strategic plan for the Health Recruitment Partnership, some of our upcoming events, and some of the doctor recruitment. And I know that the city manager would be able to provide comment, and hope to hear what the comments that she has from this morning's meeting. Thank you.
City manager.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, to all of council, we're pleased that this morning's meeting included a grant recommendation for 5 different medical professionals to locate in the city. So we'll be bringing forward reports at the next meeting to affirm those agreements. And we're also looking forward to wrapping up the symposium with a new strategic plan and moving forward with some kind of better graphics, an incentive package that we'll be able to produce to provide to people. So it's a lot of work that's happening on that committee, and it's quite exciting that it's moving forward.
That's excellent. Looking forward to that report. Any further items under new business? Councillor Clark.
Just a comment regarding that committee. I'm just wondering if that committee has investigated, like some other municipalities have started to investigate, where doctors are on the payroll for the local municipality and run a clinic and are paid employees, and just wondering if that model would apply to us.
Councillor Baldwin Sands.
Thank you. That was one of the recommendations from the symposium, and I defer to the city manager for any further comment.
City manager.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to council, that is certainly a model that will be explored. It was a theme that was talked about at the symposium, and it will be an element that's included in our strategic plan. I have been in contact with some municipal colleagues in the town of Orillia, where they have onboarded physicians as municipal employees just to actually find out the mechanics of how they're making that happen. So I do know some local examples. Actually, the municipality of Dunwich, however, their model I don't think would be appropriate here. So we're looking at various options.
Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments? Any other items under new business? Seeing none, next item, please.
We now move into bylaws. I have a motion that leave be granted to bring in the bylaws, moved by Councillor Baldwin Sands, second by Councillor Herbert.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? That's carried.
I have a motion by Councillor Baldwin Sands, seconded by Councillor Herbert, that the bylaws be now read a first time, referred to council and committee of the whole, and read a second time.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Councillor Gibson.
Reading of the first bylaw.
First bylaw is a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council meeting held on the 7th day of April, 2025.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Those opposed? Carried. Next bylaw.
Second bylaw is a bylaw to appoint a bylaw enforcement officer, being Matt Robinson.
Questions or comments? Councillor Herbert.
Councillor Herbert, you just need to put your voice back on there.
There, I got it back on. Thank you. Through the chair, is that a permanent position or a part-time position?
Through the chair to Councillor Herbert, it's to backfill a permanent position.
Thank you.
Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, all of those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Next bylaw, please.
Third bylaw is a bylaw to temporarily remove certain lands from part lot control, and that's lot 70 on Plan 11M 264 in the Manorwood subdivision.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Next bylaw, please.
Bylaw number 4 is a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute and affix the seal of the corporation to a certain agreement between the city and Sunveer and Enterprises Limited. This relates to a site plan agreement for the property at 121 South Edgewater Road relating to a commercial building.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Next bylaw, excuse me.
Fifth bylaw is a bylaw to amend bylaw 50-88, being the zoning bylaw for the city of St. Thomas. This relates to townhouse development at 451 Wellington Street.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Next bylaw, please.
Sixth bylaw is a bylaw to adopt official plan amendment number 113 to the city of St. Thomas official plan. This is to consolidate the designation across the property in support of the existing food bank use at 22 to 28 John Street.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Next bylaw, please.
Seventh bylaw is a bylaw to amend bylaw 50-88, being the zoning bylaw for the city of St. Thomas. Also relates to the property at 22 to 28 John Street, the St. Thomas Algon Food Bank.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Next bylaw, please.
Eighth and final bylaw is a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute and affix the seal of the corporation to a certain agreement between the city and His Majesty the King in right of Ontario as represented by the Solicitor General. This relates to the 2025 Court Security and Prisoner Transport Program funding.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Sorry, arise and report the successful passing of all 8 bylaws.
Thank you, Councillor Gibson. Next item, please.
I have a motion by Councillor Baldwin Sands, seconded by Councillor Herbert, that the report of council and committee of the whole on the 8 bylaws be received and adopted. The same be read a third time, engrossed, signed and sealed by the mayor and clerk, sealed and numbered.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? That's carried. Next item, please.
No public notice or notices of motion this evening. There is a need to move into closed session. I have a motion that this meeting be closed to deal with 2 personal matters about identifiable individuals, a matter of information explicitly supplied in confidence to the municipality by the province of Ontario, and 2 matters of a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality. Moved by Councillor Baldwin Sands, second by Councillor Clark.
And just before we call the question, I just want to remind and thank everybody that tuned in tonight that we will be going into close and then we'll be coming back into open after to rise and report and to adjourn the meeting. Any questions or comments on the item? All in favor? That's carried.
At this time, I have a motion that council rise from closed session. Moved by Councillor Gibson, second by Councillor Taylor.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? That's carried. Next item, please.
No further items in open session. I now have a motion for adjournment. Moved by Councillor Baldwin Sands, second by Councillor Gibson.
All those in favor? That is carried.
Thank you for filling in the chair.